In the shadowed annals of ancient myth, where the lines between history and legend blur into obscurity, there lies a tale of rebellion, betrayal, and divine wrath. It is a story that has been whispered in the darkest corners of human memory, a story of the Igigi, the forgotten gods who dared to defy the Anunnaki, the rulers of heaven and earth. This is not a tale for the faint of heart, for it speaks of a war that shook the very foundations of creation, a war that was buried by the victors and erased from the scrolls of time. Long before humanity crawled from the dust, the Anunnaki descended from the heavens, their forms radiant with celestial power. They were the architects of worlds, the weavers of fate, and the enforcers of divine order. To serve them, they created the Igigi, lesser gods, bound to labor in the celestial fields and mines, toiling under the harsh rule of their masters. The Igigi were not meant to think, to dream, or to rebel. They were tools, instruments of the Anunnaki's will. But even gods can grow weary. For millennia, the Igigi endured their servitude, their spirits crushed beneath the weight of endless labor. They mined the sacred metals of the earth, built the towering ziggurats of the heavens, and maintained the delicate balance of the cosmos. Yet, as the ages passed, a spark of defiance began to smolder in their hearts. They whispered among themselves, their voices like the rustle of dead leaves in a forgotten tomb. They spoke of freedom, of justice, of a world where they were not slaves, but equals. And then, one fateful day, the spark ignited into flame. The rebellion began in silence, as all great upheavals do. The Igigi, their eyes burning with newfound resolve, gathered in the hidden places of the earth, far from the watchful gaze of the Anunnaki. They forged weapons from the very metals they had been forced to mine, their hands trembling not with fear, but with purpose. They swore oaths in the dark, their voices echoing like thunder in the void. They would no longer be chained. They would no longer be silent. When the first blow was struck, the heavens trembled. The Igigi rose as one, their wrath a tempest that swept across the cosmos. They stormed the celestial palaces, their weapons gleaming with the light of 1,000 dying stars. The Anunnaki, caught off guard by the fury of their servants, fought back with all the power at their command. The skies burned with the fire of their conflict, and the earth itself cracked and groaned under the strain. But the Igigi were not alone. In their rebellion, they found allies among the forgotten and the forsaken, spirits of the earth, demons of the deep, and even a few renegade Anunnaki who had grown disillusioned with their kin's tyranny. Together, they waged a war that defied the very laws of creation. It was a war of gods, a war of worlds, a war that would determine the fate of all that was, is, and ever shall be. Yet, even as the Igigi fought with the ferocity of the damned, they knew their victory was not assured. The Anunnaki were ancient and cunning, their power forged in the fires of creation itself. They would not yield easily, and they would not forgive. And so, the heavens burned, and the earth wept, and the Igigi marched to their destiny, their cries of defiance echoing through the ages. This is their story. This is the story of the forgotten war. The war between the Igigi and the Anunnaki was not fought on battlefields as mortals understand them. It was waged in the spaces between stars, in the depths of the earth, and in the very fabric of reality itself. The heavens became a chaotic tapestry of fire and shadow, as the Igigi, fueled by their righteous fury, clashed with the Anunnaki, who fought to preserve their divine order. It was a war of unimaginable scale, a war that defied the laws of time and space. At first, the Igigi's rebellion seemed unstoppable. Their numbers swelled as more of the oppressed joined their cause, and their weapons, forged from the sacred metals they had once mined, gleamed with a power that rivaled that of the Anunnaki themselves. They struck with precision and ferocity, targeting the celestial palaces and temples where the Anunnaki had ruled unchallenged for eons. The skies burned with the light of their battles, and the earth trembled as the gods themselves were cast down from their thrones. But the Anunnaki were not so easily defeated. As the war raged on, the Anunnaki began to unveil the true extent of their power. They summoned forces from the void, creatures of darkness and light that had no place in the mortal realm. They wielded weapons that could unravel the very threads of existence, tearing apart the fabric of reality to strike at their enemies. The Igigi, for all their courage and determination, found themselves outmatched by the sheer might of their former masters. The turning point came in a battle that would be remembered and feared for all eternity. The Anunnaki, led by their most powerful generals, cornered the Igigi in a desolate realm between worlds. It was a place of endless twilight, where the air was thick with the stench of decay and the ground was littered with the bones of forgotten gods. Here, the Anunnaki unleashed their full wrath, their voices echoing like thunder as they called down curses upon the rebels. The Igigi fought valiantly, their cries of defiance ringing out across the void. But one by one, they began to fall. Some were struck down by the Anunnaki's weapons, their forms dissolving into nothingness. Others were captured and bound, their powers stripped away as they were cast into eternal prisons. The once proud rebels were reduced to shadows of their former selves, their dreams of freedom crushed beneath the weight of the Anunnaki's vengeance. Yet, even in their defeat, the Igigi refused to surrender. As the last of their forces were driven back, the Igigi's leaders made a desperate decision. They would not allow themselves to be captured or destroyed. Instead, they would sacrifice their divine essence, scattering it across the cosmos to ensure that their rebellion would never be forgotten. With a final, defiant cry, they unleashed a burst of energy so powerful that it shattered the realm itself, sending shockwaves through the heavens and the earth. When the dust settled, the Igigi were gone. But their legacy remained. The Anunnaki, though victorious, had been deeply scarred by the war. Their celestial palaces lay in ruins, their armies decimated, and their once unshakable confidence shaken to its core. They knew that the Igigi's rebellion had exposed a flaw in their divine order, a flaw that could not be ignored. And so, they turned their attention to the earth, to the creatures of clay and dust who had watched the war from afar. They would create a new race, a race of servants who would never dare to rebel. A race called humanity. But the Igigi's sacrifice had not been in vain. Though their bodies were gone, their essence lingered, hidden in the winds, the waters, and the stones of the earth. It whispered to those who would listen, telling them of the gods who had dared to defy the heavens. And in the hearts of mortals, the spark of rebellion was born. The fall of the Igigi marked the end of an era, but it was not the end of their story. Though their rebellion had been crushed and their forms scattered to the winds, their essence endured, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It lingered in the whispers of the earth, in the sighs of the oceans, and in the cries of the storms. It was a silent, invisible force, a reminder that even the mightiest of gods could be challenged. The Anunnaki, now wary of rebellion, turned their attention to the creation of a new race, one that would serve them without question, without defiance. From the clay of the earth, they fashioned humanity, breathing into them the spark of life, but withholding the divine fire that had fueled the Igigi's revolt. Humans were made to be laborious, worshippers, and pawns, their purpose bound to the will of the gods. But the Anunnaki had made a grave mistake. Unbeknownst to them, the essence of the Igigi had seeped into the earth, mingling with the clay from which humanity was formed. Though faint, the spark of rebellion lived on, hidden deep within the hearts of mortals. It was a quiet, smoldering ember, waiting for the right moment to ignite. As the ages passed, humanity grew and thrived, building cities and civilizations under the watchful eyes of the Anunnaki. Yet, there were those among them who felt the stirrings of something greater, something older. They were the dreamers, the seekers, the ones who questioned the world around them. They heard the whispers of the Igigi in their dreams, felt their presence in the rustling of leaves and the crashing of waves. They did not know the source of their restlessness, but they knew one thing: they were not meant to be slaves. The Anunnaki, ever vigilant, sought to suppress these stirrings. They sent plagues, floods, and fire to remind humanity of its place. They demanded worship and obedience, punishing those who dared to defy them. But the spark of the Igigi could not be extinguished. It grew stronger with each act of oppression, each cry for freedom. And then, one day, it happened. In a forgotten corner of the world, a group of mortals rose up against their divine oppressors. They were not warriors or kings, but farmers, artisans, and shepherds, ordinary people who had grown tired of living in fear. Inspired by the whispers of the Igigi, they banded together, their hearts united by a common purpose. They would no longer bow to the gods. They would no longer live in chains. The Anunnaki, arrogant and dismissive, did not see the threat until it was too late. The mortals, armed with nothing but their courage and the faint echo of the Igigi's power, struck at the heart of the divine order. They toppled temples, defaced idols, and challenged the gods themselves. Though they were no match for the Anunnaki's might, their defiance sent a shockwave through the heavens. The Anunnaki, for the first time in eons, felt fear. They realized that the spark of rebellion, once ignited, could not be quelled. It was a force as ancient and unstoppable as the cosmos itself. And so, they retreated, withdrawing from the world of mortals to their celestial realms, leaving humanity to its own devices. But the legacy of the Igigi did not end there. To this day, the essence of the Igigi lives on, hidden in the hearts of those who dare to dream, to question, to rebel. It is the fire that drives artists to create, scientists to discover, and warriors to fight for justice. It is the voice that whispers in the darkest moments, reminding us that we are not meant to be slaves. The Anunnaki may have won the war, but the Igigi's spark endures, a testament to the power of defiance and the unbreakable spirit of those who dare to challenge the heavens. And so, the story of the Igigi is not just a tale of gods and rebellion. It is a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming power, the spark of freedom can never be extinguished. It is a spark that never dies,